Thanks.
I guess I can read while John does that, right? Following guidance issued by the governor regarding the open meeting law, this public meeting will be held remotely. Individuals wishing to participate may do so by using Zoom video conferencing technology. To join the meeting by video conferencing using a computer or tablet, you may use the link, and to join by telephone, you may call the number and enter the meeting ID and passcode, and the meeting is being recorded.
Great, thank you, Lori. So for the first item on this evening's agenda, we have 22 Edgewater Drive. Janet, can you give us a quick rundown there?
Sure. This is a straightforward septic system replacement of a failed system. It's basically being replaced in the same location. There is one tree removal proposed because apparently the roots will interfere with the new system. A portion of the work, a small portion of the leaching bed and the pump tank extends into the 70-foot no structure area. However, all area within the setback is already disturbed, is already lawn, and proposed to be restored. So I do recommend approval of the negative determination, but I did note in my report that generally we do see NOIs on septic replacements, and that's generally a good practice. Not always necessary, but when you have this amount of disturbance and also a turnover in the property owner, I think having the monthly progress reports, having a certificate of compliance for the work is important. So trying to be reasonable and flexible here, I think we can go ahead and approve, issue a negative determination, but I would recommend that we include our basic order of condition requirements. So that would include having the determination recorded at the registry. So it puts prospective owners on notice that they are subject to the wetlands regulations, also require the monthly progress reports, also require a certificate of compliance, also require that I come out for a pre-construction meeting to review and approve the erosion control.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. And this, Dan, did you was it, I'm just pulling up Janet's review comments. This seems appropriate. It sort of meets us in the middle ground of NOI versus RDA. Any comments?
Did the commission members want to see the plan, or?
Oh yeah, no, but I just say well, good point. Why don't you bring the plan up and go over things from your side of things?
The sharing is disabled. Can I get permission to share?
So John, do you have the permission to share button? Because I had a Zoom update and my toolbar changed. And
okay.
let me just see.
Yeah, I'm saying one participant can share at a time.
Yeah, that's what I
And
see.
let me see if there's anything else.
Clicking on it again.
I'll click on off and then on.
Yeah.
All right, let me try.
That did it.
Oh,
That
good.
did it? Okay.
Yep.
When in doubt, reboot.
Well, actually, what I clicked on was multiple participants can share at the same time. I cannot imagine how that works on a notebook screen, but
yeah.
So this is a 22 Edgewater Drive. Janet did a good job of explaining what we're doing here. It's just a straightforward septic replacement.
Can you zoom in just a bit so that we can,
sure,
please? Great.
So Edgewater Drive over on the left-hand side, this is the front yard of the existing house. It's been here since 1968. We had the wetlands delineated. They're off-site on a separate parcel. which is actually owned by the town of Dover.
Mhm.
But the reason we went with an RDA on this particular one, and it's all pretty site specific on what we can do here, but as Janet mentioned, the entire area is completely disturbed. It's a lawn there now. And the important aspect, well, there's two important aspects. One is only a portion of the work is within the buffer zone. We're staying completely outside the 50-foot no build buffer. And the site is as flat as you could get out there. So there's very limited potential for any erosion to go toward the wetlands. It just doesn't have the slope to build up any velocity.
Mhm.
So as far as risk goes, this is a pretty low risk project for building a septic system adjacent to a wetland. So we thought an RDA was appropriate here.
Mhm.
But we'll
Mhm.
certainly defer to the commission's good judgment on this one.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
can you slide?
it's
Go ahead.
it's going to be about a 2.5 to maybe 3 week project to get the yard all back together,
Mhm.
put in the system and get the yard back together. So it's a very short duration project as well.
And now I think including the photo is a great idea. Can you slide that over so everyone can see it? So,
So you
and I'm
can see this is where we're going to be building the septic system right in here. The wetlands are out in the woods back in the back of the photo.
And are you building this up at all, or
We do have to mount it up a little bit, yes.
can you slide back to the plan?
So you can see the 110 contour that runs through the property now. It's going to be a 111 contour when done. So we're
Okay.
raising it about
Oh,
12 inches.
Which is all things considered, pretty good for that neck of the woods.
For this neighborhood, it's very good.
Okay. So I think this is one of the things that we've discussed a little bit in the past, and I know Jan and I have been discussing the concept of RDAs versus NOIs for grandfathered lots where that are pretty much like this. Everything's disturbed, things are going back in the lawn. Most of the time these things have to be replaced because things were so flat and the water table is so high. Janet, so accepting it as an RDA, you were looking to basically just issue the special conditions that you normally do under an NOI and just have them run with this RDA for so that the applicant follows them, but we also have a written record on file in the office. Is that kind of the gist of things?
Right, so under the bylaw, we issue, there maybe are 30 standard special conditions. And then I do have a couple additional standard, a couple additional special, 8 additional special conditions. So just like an order of conditions, I propose we add our standard special conditions and then the 8 additional special conditions I listed.
Okay, and those are the typical ones relative to no stockpiling, which Dan has already shown us where they're looking to stockpile and the like. But the things that are different than a typical RDA are the progress reports, which we may get to on this if everything goes well. And is signage involved in this?
Yes, so I just had two comments or recommendations for additional info. One was to have the filter, compost sock, silt fence, and orange construction fencing. Dan has revised his plan. He turned that around very quickly. And then the other one was to show the stockpiling. And then
Okay,
also
so that's what that is.
just an indication of signage as well. So Dan has revised the site plan to show everything that was needed to close on this. Yeah.
Okay, great.
And
Thank you.
Just note there are 2 waiver requests. One is
Mhm.
for structures within the 70-foot no structure setback, And then the second is a waiver of the waiver fee. And I
Mhm.
think both of those are reasonable to approve under our grandfather policy.
Okay. Just by the by, in the future, going forward, when it comes to septic system replacements that are within the buffer, and they're going in the, Dan, is this going in the exact same location as the existing system?
Well, the existing system is relatively small. You can see it right here.
I see. Uh-huh.
The new one is quite larger, so we are encompassing where it is, and we're expanding it because it got bigger than the existing one.
And is it larger because of are there any extra bedrooms in here, or is it larger
No,
because
we're not changing the bedroom or the design flow at all. It's based on the perk rate of the soil was very poor.
got it. Okay, no, I was just thinking, it's something the commission can address at a later time, relative to, waivers, within areas like that. So any comments from commissioners?
Yeah,
Any
John,
questions?
it seems to me that if anything should be grandfathered,
Hmm.
this should be from 1968.
Yeah.
And given that it's going in the same place, it's really almost like they're redoing the lawn.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's, if they were redoing the lawn and digging it up for something, we'd certainly approve an RDA.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't see there's any need for anything special here, other than our normal oversight.
So you're saying in terms of all the extra conditions that Janet would normally apply to an NOI, you're calling into question whether it's necessary for
Yeah, I don't
such
think
an.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
But
And any other commissioners, any comments on that?
Kind of like, since it is a bigger footprint, I kind of like having the clarity, but I also know what you mean about it is a lawn dig up. Is there a way to apply the conditions without the and on the RDA, or does that not make sense without the certificate of compliance?
Oh, no, what I think what Janet's asking for is to let it proceed as an RDA, but to have conditions on in the file that as if it were a notice of intent. And in Tim's response is, I can certainly relate to, which is at some point, how bureaucratic do we need to be for some of these things? When we have something that's dead flat is going to be taken care of in a very short period of time. It does give, I've mentioned a couple times even on RDAs, the concern about overreaching for something that may be a relatively simple project. I think here it would be the concept of having the signs over by the wetlands probably is not I think that is a good thing to have. I guess really the question would be if this is really mostly paperwork and we're just asking for a few updates during construction, is it appropriate to add the wording that Janet's asking for that would be in the file that the applicant would pay attention to? I brings up another thing, which is Janet is also looking for a deed restriction the way we would on a NOI. Is that correct, Janet?
Well, I guess if we, yeah. That would,
And-
I mean, we could remove that, but
Mhm.
quite honestly, well, that would be up to the commission, whether that's something you'd want to have applied or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the idea of following through with the certificate of completion is a good one because we've encountered issues with that. I don't think that would, given the scope of this job, that shouldn't be it's certainly not onerous. But I think it at least shows an effort that we're trying to be understanding, and I don't think it's going to affect the act in any way if we just scale back a little bit on the things that actually aren't normally associated with an RDA. So what I'm hearing, Tim, is to grant approval of this as an RDA with some of the conditions that that would be filed in-house, overseeing it as if it were an NOI. And I'm trying to think of something that doesn't, that's simpler than that. So entertain a motion that, would accept it as such, along with the special conditions and as noted, the 8 special conditions as noted.
Yeah, so the other thing I would say that if we just say that this is grandfathered, then we don't need the waiver either.
Well, I wondered about that as well, and that's where I was kind of going with, is that really if we invoke grandfathering, and then we clarify that therefore we don't believe, there's no need to vote on waivers due to the grandfathering. I'm fine with that, so that we don't have to go through the whole multiple vote process for that, because we're stating that it's grandfathered.
Right.
Any commissioners have an issue with that?
I'm sorry,
Wow, bigger.
I would just add, I've written out the language here, so another minute of the meeting. So we are approving,
Yeah.
we are still approving the waiver, but it's under our grandfather policy, so.
Okay,
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that, it covers all our bases. So,
That works for me.
So I will entertain a motion. that
Yes, could I
encompasses
just ask
all-
a question real quick before you do that?
Sure, Dan. Yeah.
We agree with the certificate of compliance, that makes sense. I'm just wondering if the commission could do it the same way the Board of Health does it. We're required to submit an as-built plan to the Board of Health, and they have to issue a certificate of compliance for the septic install. I'm wondering if the commission could do it the same way and avoid the deed recording aspect of it, because that becomes a troublesome part of it.
Well, that's exactly what I was alluding to earlier. The
Okay.
idea would be, as an RDA, we wouldn't have those recording requirements. And I had asked relative to the deed restrictions, and I don't see a need for that on this scale of a project. So the idea would be to do the special conditions, incorporate the deed restriction.
Yes, but that you could, Lori could pull that one out.
So
And then
I'm looking at
The
1,
recording
2.
could pull out the deed restriction language and also the recording language. And then the DEP sign, that would come out too. That's not required.
Yeah, so I'm looking at under special conditions, the 8 special conditions.
Yeah,
Does that have, I see the signs, but I don't see the a deed restriction in there. Can you
So-
direct me?
so up above, I referenced that these are additional special conditions to our standard special conditions. That's
Okay.
usually.
So I would look at this as we would accept this referencing the 8 special conditions as noted, and we'd make no reference to the other conditions above that, because they're much more, they're dealing with orders of condition.
So that would eliminate then my going out and checking that the erosion control was installed properly?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to do that or not?
I think that's appropriate. So we can add that as a special condition.
Okay. And
Lori?
then the language
Motion.
for the certificate of compliance, we'd have to add because that's in our standard special conditions. I didn't list that in my additional special conditions.
Right, and what was your concern, Dan, about the certificate of compliance?
Well, I don't have a concern about the certificate of compliance. It was the deed recordings.
Yeah.
They get troublesome in these land transfers between, we don't know who's gonna buy the house, and it just gets complicated.
Yeah, we haven't, actually, we've run, our complications have been when people didn't, they were supposed to and they didn't, and then the attorneys pick up that hadn't happened. But generally, once they're in there, nobody seems to have a problem. But again, in this issue, the whole idea was trying to simplify this as an RDA. So that's why I wanted to not, I don't mind adding 2 more conditions to these special conditions, but they avoid including all the other ones under the regular conditions, including the deed recording. So I figure if we do that by, rather than omission, we specify these 8 conditions plus those other 2. That makes it clear, fits on one page. You know, bring Janet up, take a look at erosion control, and then a COC, you know, a month later.
Great.
Okay, so Tim, if you'd be so kind.
Okay, sure. Move to waive the 70-foot no build intrusion by referencing our grandfather clause in our bylaw.
Well, I think we just state that as part of the request for approval that as a grandfathered thing, we are waiving these things.
Yeah, I think we have to vote on waivers separately.
Okay, so I misunderstood. I thought the
Yeah.
idea was if we're accepting it as a grandfather, we state that. And
No,
therefore
that
the
just
voters-
becomes the reason to grant it.
Got it. Okay, with no other paperwork
With-
necessary.
Yeah,
Okay, and do I hear a second on that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Anna?
Aye.
Tim,
aye.
Amy,
Aye.
and I'm an aye.
Okay. Move to issue actually, we gotta move to close the hearing.
Good point. Thank you. So move to close the somebody move to close the hearing in a second.
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Anna,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
I'm an aye. Okay,
Okay, move to issue a negative determination of applicability for the project with our standard condition and the three additional conditions?
no, with our special conditions, not the standard. So with the special
No, I
conditions.
said our standard special conditions
Oh, okay, special conditions as outlined for.
as listed in.
That an
as
oxymoron?
determined by our agent.
Right. And plus the, what were the 2 others? One was the
Right.
certificate of completion.
And then my inspection and approval of erosion control.
Okay, so note.
Yep.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Anna?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay. Well, thank you, Dan, on helping us fine tune and simplify some of these things.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, have a good day. Oh, do you have a question, Lori?
I just want to get the right get this right. So it's a negative determination with the 8 special conditions that were in the memo, plus is it just the erosion control inspection or is it the list of pre-construction requirements?
Oh, no, it's the erosion control inspection.
Okay. And then the COC.
And then the
Right.
COC.
Okay, good. I have it then. Thanks.
Okay, excellent. Okay, thanks much, Dan. Okay. Next up, we have a COC for 61 Farm Street. And Janet, why don't you fill us in?
So you'll recall this was a fairly large scale solar array project. No impact to the wetland, but they did come in. The existing road was very close to wetland on both sides. So you did require signage, which I did inspect. That's been installed and confirmed all work was done in compliance with the order of conditions. So I recommend approval with our 4 permanent conditions as listed in my memo.
Okay. Is any, let's see, Andrew, do you have anything that you'd like to touch base on?
Nothing to add beyond what Janet said. We're excited to close out the project if the commission is so willing. The conservation signage has been installed. I have photos if the commission is interested in seeing that. And we also do have Alex Groza, Revision Energy, on the call this evening as well.
Okay, so I think you included the signs with an email to Janet, I believe. And Tim, are you waving or are you just
No, I'm just
adjusting?
fixing my camera.
Oh, okay. And then
So,
it's go ahead, Janet.
All right, John. So we required our two regular signage, but
Yep.
because of the length of the driveway and other conditions, they
Mhm.
actually combined the two into one signage, which I really like.
Mm.
So I think we should maybe revisit our signage requirements. And Andrew, I don't know if you can do a close-up on your signage there, and that's a
Mhm.
telephone pole, not a tree that we put
Yeah,
it on.
no, and I noticed that. And Andrew, was that done? Is that aluminum or what's the? Do you know what the sign's made out of?
Those are aluminum signs.
And roughly what
Very nice.
size?
They're like 8x11. The
Oh,
standard
really? So all
portion.
that's okay. No, they make their point, but they don't broadcast it from hundreds of feet away. Okay, that's great. Anybody have any questions concerning signage?
Mhm. Nice
Okay.
signs.
Yeah,
Very nice.
and the other question was, so is this operational now?
No, we are waiting for the PTO from Eversource.
Okay, because
Oh,
yeah,
excuse me.
I heard that was a little lengthier than expected.
Correct. Yes,
Yeah.
we are already. The meters has been changed. We're just waiting for the final approvals.
Good. Then, okay, then I'll entertain a
Sure.
let's see, on a COC, are we closing a hearing or are we just?
I don't think we do.
I don't think
I
so.
we
No.
Just vote, yeah. Move to issue a positive certificate of compliance for 61 Farm Street with our standard conditions and special conditions in place.
Okay, and does that meet your muster, Janet?
Yes.
Okay, can I hear a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Anna?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, congratulations and good luck.
All right, thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Okay. Let's see. So next, we're gonna change this around depending on how the warrant meeting ran, but everything looks like we are ahead of time. Look at that. We should mark the calendar. So we have several things in front of us this evening. We have a contract extension, which is and Janet, is the amendment basically on the amount? Is that what you make a reference to, extension amendment?
Yes, so it's an extension into the next fiscal year, and then the amendment is the amount change.
And
Yeah.
other than that, there are no other changes. Is that correct?
Right, that's right.
Okay. So I wanted to fill folks in. I went hat in hand to the warrant committee earlier and looked for a $25,000 transfer that we had approved back in May, and was notified this morning that it was on their agenda. And Lori, that Kathy LaPlante was also on that meeting. So she said that, and Mike Blanchard, all that should be taken care of tomorrow, so that go ahead and process things the way you normally would for that.
Okay.
So when we originally reviewed this, we were hoping that $25,000 would cover it, and it turns out that we needed an extra $4,000 in order to cover that overage. However, at the same time, money that we had encumbered for surveying over at Haven and Maine is coming back into our coffers because the surveyors came in much higher than expected, and they wouldn't be able to start till some time from now. So we're going to be able to cover that remaining balance in-house. And And then, so I want to bring everyone up to date money wise and where we are in terms of cutting our budget, tight at the end of the year. Also, I requested, and that was granted, the $25,000 was granted. We also requested $1,500 extra advertising costs because the cost of advertising has gone up. And then we spent some time discussing the overage that we had. So the last year's contract amount was $65,000, and our total billing for Janet through this year was $135,000. So we're more than double what that was. So they were nice about it. I explained to them, all the work that we had, explained how long our meetings go, asked them whether or not they have long meetings for the entire year through, or if it's just during their crunch period. Just to subtly let them know how hard we work, and how hard Janet works. Also outlined, Janet and I had discussed, and we will continue this discussion, and we'll continue to convey that discussion and are open to discussion with commission members. We're trying to look at, with that sort of overage, we really have a responsibility to try to parse that out, and find out where it went and what were the things that that aided up so far beyond our initial budget. And so on a quick basis, we reviewed, we know we had extra expenses with some enforcement orders this year, and we've farmed those out to Paul McManus to a large part in order to stay within budget. But between that and the highway department itself, with their stormwater management bylaw that Janet was involved in reviewing, and also their filings for things such as Claybrook Road, the road damage there, the crossing at Willow and Dedham for the box culverts and so forth. Just between those items there, that accounts for around $40,000 of that overage, which I conveyed to the warrant committee, which then that brings us down to around $90,000, $95,000. And I also pointed out that we got approval at town meeting because we were looking ahead last year. And so that next year's budget is $85,000. And so that we're actually very close to what we should be in line if we don't have those sorts of occurrences. But on a regular run rate that has been very heavy, that we're hoping that's appropriate. And to which they then asked, several of them asked, how do other towns do it? And whether this is the time to look into a full-time agent. And so, interesting enough, earlier today, before the warrant committee, Mike Blanchard, and we now have a human resource officer, Robin, is it Tunison, Lori? I can't remember how to pronounce.
Robin Ticino.
Ticino, okay. They basically gave us permission to review this and to access the reports that the consultants had done for the other boards but didn't do for us, and to look into the pluses and minuses of doing that. And it turns out that we don't need we would have to go in front of town meeting for a budget if we decided to do that. And obviously we'd be presenting to the warrant committee, and we'd be working with Mike Blanchard and all that, but it does not require a bylaw. So it would just be a budgetary change that would go through the at town meeting there. It appears we have a year to do that, but really what we have is around 6 months to do that, because then we need to present it to the warrant committee. And part of that is in Janet's discussion, the discussion Janet and I had today is to try to pull together some of these numbers, get a realistic idea of what might have been one-time only fees. What are things that we can you know, if to review things on a quarterly basis at the very least, so that we have an idea of where we're going, so that we try not to pull money from other allocations that we have. So given all that, and Janet, does that reflect our discussion pretty much?
Yeah. You know, I agree. I think the commission needs to look at all the options for moving forward so that we're not put in this position again.
Because keep in mind, Lori did some numbers up at my request. In the first 6 months, we exhausted the $65,000 budget. The next 1, 2, 3, 4, the next 5 months, we wiped out the money in the WPA account, which is something I had mentioned a couple of years ago when we actually found out this account existed, that I thought this would be around the time that we would eat into that. And then we're going for the reserve fund, you know, transfer, which they granted. So so we've given them accurate numbers, but I think it came as a surprise to all of us that what everything totaled out to be.
So when I find it, given our unfunded pension overhang as a town, I find it amusing and distressing that they are encouraging us to hire more employees that will increase. But
Well, that's
when we have somebody who is not interested in a pension because she already has one from another town. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents. And I think, you know, when we look at I'm just encouraging us to look at if we look at actually creating a position for the agent, that we make sure that it's that the calculation is all in, because especially with town employees, the healthcare and pension liabilities are often, in my belief, ignored. And I clearly, if you're a business, you can't do that. Only towns can do that.
Towns can do that, right? My sense, I've become a little bit more agnostic about this, because I brought this to their attention over the last few years, and nothing was done about it. And so basically, they finally have said you can do that, but they then asked, you know, how does it work in other towns? And I said, well, frankly, a number of the surrounding towns are in crisis because they're at the same pivot point, and they don't even have consultants, or they have consultants, but they don't have administrative staff. Other towns have gone full on with that. And my feeling is the best we can do is parse these numbers so that we know exactly where the money's going. And then I think we can make a case in either direction once we have the data a little bit more distilled. And it may indeed be that that's a more effective way, is to maintain a consultant for exactly the reasons that you mentioned. And maybe the only thing I did mention to them, a consultant you get twice as many hours, or not given where Janet's been, you know, how many hours she's been doing, but you get the potential for community outreach and, you know, possibly doing some forward-thinking things as opposed to just this. The hope is, as we parse some of these numbers, and Janet also has some ideas that she'll will bring forward over the course of the next few months, which is what are the time wasters on her end, and what can be done to enforce things on the part of applicants to do a better job.
Clearly, we need to analyze it and streamline it so that we're the most efficient, whether it's Janet or somebody else, because I don't want to waste people's time. I don't want to waste our time or the town money. I just wanted to put my 2 cents in there as as somebody who's going to be paying taxes in this town for a very, very long time, and Anna's going to be paying taxes even longer than I am. the tendency of towns to just look at salary and current benefits in comparison to other ways of paying people is a bit distressing. And certainly the town knows that, because we've gotten ourselves into a pretty big hole and we're slowly edging our way out of it. We're better than some towns, but we still have
Well,
an unfunded.
I
pension
outlined, part of it
liability.
would be for us to research. I would say you have, because you've mentioned this on a number of occasions, so it's a factor of 2 cents times X.
Yeah.
And because of that, I made reference to that,
Thank you.
with the warrant committee, and said, that we're that there are several things on the table, and we need to and I
Yeah.
thanked them
No,
for, and
no,
I thanked Mike Blanchard for the permission for us to actually do that. And I said, and we'll hopefully have the information in the next 6 months to make a decision one way or the other. And I think it could be that the consulting agent method may work out better for the town. One of the other things that so we also got permission, it's a busy day. We got permission for Lori to get administrative help to work on bringing our minutes up to date. Which is great. As I understand, Lori, we got permission to do that, but we did not get funding for that. Is that correct?
That's correct. But if
And,
it's anywhere else in the budget, any other line item that can be transferred, et cetera, et cetera.
So I think the way I'm looking at this just on the back of an envelope is that we got enough reserve transfer to cover all but $4,000 of Janet's fiscal year 24 budget. We're getting $10,000 basically coming back to us in our land management account.
Yeah, and there's a little more from the Bog Bridge
Right,
excess.
so we have, roughly 1,400 or so. So that we should have for this year, but of course, that's this year. You're not going to get
Right.
somebody in immediately to do that.
Right.
However, what it does allow us not to do is we don't have to dip into that approximate $6,000 we have in the WPA.
Which may actually be less. I was looking at it today, trying to figure it out. I want a firm figure from Kathy first.
Okay. And just commissions to let you know that there are times when Lori has asked for accounting to give us a balance for that account, and it has taken months to get it. It's a mystery. And so but the question is, so that will extend beyond into FY25. Would that give you the ability to, can those funds be used on for an outside, basically consultant?
Well,
Yes.
on the minutes piece, because the minutes are coming from meetings that are recorded, would it be helpful, and have we got transcripts from all of the meetings, and would it be helpful for you to have a transcript to then copy and paste from, as opposed to
So that was, so
having
Lori,
to watch it?
well, so I don't know how accurate that is, in terms of getting people's names correctly for who's speaking and so forth. Although it does, certainly with Zoom, everyone's name is there. But
Right.
Lori had mentioned, was it you who had spoken to, or was it Janet spoken to somebody technically about getting it was short money to get those transcripts
Well,
from Zoom?
we have a Google person on line who could probably tell us. I mean, I know when I did it as a consultant 10 years ago, it was less than $1 a minute to get. It was an what they did is they ran it through the automated thing, and then they had a person go through and fix all the mistakes.
So was that you, Lori, who told me about that today?
No, I did, John.
Oh,
So
Janet. Oh, okay, yeah.
And
So-
I'm sure that it's got to be a
it's much
fraction
better.
of that now.
So
Yeah.
Janet, why don't you
With
share with
AI.
us? That seemed pretty interesting.
So I sit on a board of directors of a nonprofit, and we just lost our board secretary. And we have a really tech savvy person on the board who said, this is what a lot of board of directors are doing now. So from the Zoom recording, it's $100 annual fee, and it will provide you with a full transcription. And he felt the accuracy is quite good as long as people's pronunciations are clear.
Mhm,
And then ChatGPT can take that and do a summary of the minutes. So it's not everything that everyone said, but it will summarize the minutes. So I think there still is there would still be wordsmithing needed, but he felt that that really captures a lot of information and actually works quite well. So it wouldn't be, we wouldn't lose anything by trying that.
No, no. And so Anna, didn't you or your brother invent Bard or?
No, and I'm not an LLM person, but I do know the one thing they are really good at is summarizing from text. And everything else is chaotic.
So I didn't want to, obviously, when Janet told me about this, you were the first person who came to mind. But I didn't know if you've been familiar, if you've experienced this particular chain of tech events.
I mean, I used Gen AI some, but it's not my thing in specific.
Okay, so I think part of this would be a combination of things. Number one is how do we get started? Who would take the lead on obviously, Janet, you could get the information for the subscription. I think we'd have no problem going with $100.
Probably from Zoom, right?
I think you can just download
Possibly,
from
no, I was asking who among us would actually take the lead on finding what the steps are. Lori?
So I talked to Chris Costello a couple months ago, the assistant town administrator, about going through Zoom, and because they offer AI, which, sounds like it does what you're all talking about. And he looked into it and he said, no, he had heard that it wasn't up to very good quality yet. The person that HR talked to me about, and Mike Blanchard, and he's using it for the Board of Selectmen, was the previous Board of Health administrative assistant. Her name's Priscilla. She's still doing the Board of Health minutes, and she does them by the Zoom recordings. She's going to do the Board of Selectmen's to catch Mona up, because Mona is behind also, as I am. And she offered to do that for us, plus do the minutes going forward from the recordings at
And does she-
$30 an hour.
awesome.
And is she using AI for that, or is she just doing everything?
I don't know
manually?
how she's doing it. She uses the recordings and she creates a summary. And she's done it for the Board of Health, and she's going to be doing it for the Selectmen.
Okay.
So
did she
that's
give
the
you an idea-
information I got.
Did she give you an idea of how long it takes her to do minutes? I'm assuming their minutes are a little less than ours.
Well, all the other minutes that come out of the townhouse are more of a summary than ours have been as of late. I don't know, at least to catch up, I think it would be worth a try if for very little money. That's my opinion.
Which we have. And yet it seems from what Janet's telling us with, a very positive experience, it seems like on a at least parallel basis, we should look into that setup.
Sure.
So this, what would entail for us to, do we have to hire, can we hire this person on an hourly basis? Do we have to have a
Right,
contract per se?
it would be
or-
$30 an hour, and we would just have to have the money for it. And the other thing is, it's good to look into all the different things that we could do, but I still don't have time to do the
No,
minutes.
to do
So,
the looking in, yeah.
I was really excited when Robin mentioned Priscilla might be willing to catch us up and then continue with doing it on an ongoing basis. So
That's awesome.
just a thought.
Yeah, well, I think that gives us something immediate. But I am intrigued, obviously, by the tech, side of it there. We have a few techies but I know that, that the time is, that everyone is doing yeoman, time on their own. So maybe, well, let's go ahead and hire Priscilla for this. Do we, I would imagine we would need a vote on that. Can we, is that something we can vote on the fly for?
Sure, if you want to.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for somebody to, if we can get a last name on Priscilla, or to hire administrative,
Steenburgen.
okay, to hire
Oh.
Priscilla Steenburgen.
Yeah, moved up to hire an administrative assistant to
Consultant.
help with the minutes.
Mhm.
Compile the minutes.
An administrative assistant consultant, because we're not hiring an
Consultant,
employee.
right,
Yeah.
for no
Okay.
more than $30 an hour.
Okay, can I hear a second?
Second,
All in favor? Anna,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye,
Amy,
aye.
and I'm an aye. If people give some thought to whether they could put some time aside to look into this, Janet, could you get more direct information from your board person?
Yes.
The original contact there, and then, that may, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. And so that may make things a little bit more effortless. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so that
it-
was,
on Zoom, it's called the AI companion.
yeah, but I think what we've heard from Lori was, it's been tried within, with Chris. It could be that what Janet's folks have is something different. And
Might be
let's find
Well,
out.
It means that there's actually a transcript too, 'cause
Well, that's an interesting point. So what was, Lori, was his concern about the transcript not being accurate, or was it the
That's what
summary?
he said. He didn't think the technology was there yet. I asked about this several
the
months ago.
transcript should be totally fine.
I don't, you'd have to ask him,
Well,
Amy,
so how do
because
we-
I
can we
have to
get it
ask
for-
permission, and they didn't want to buy it, and they didn't think the technology was up to par, so.
I think it
John.
comes.
Uh,
It comes with the subscription, okay.
Well, why don't we all look into on a parallel basis?
Okay,
massive
maybe
parallel
I'll
basis.
try it on open space, but we don't meet until the fall, so that's not
Uh-huh.
very.
Okay, and then, but I think Janet may be able to get the actual particulars, and we'll see if there's overlap, or if it's something that uses an API or whatever, and we get that information. But I think it gives us a goal, and yet we have a very practical, old-fashioned way to get it done, so that we can take some stress off of Lori here. So let's take a look here. Excuse me while I find my agenda again. So we've touched base on that we have, so we now have the money to approve Janet's, did we approve the May invoice before?
Oh, but just to back up, John, I don't think you took a vote on the contract.
I haven't yet, because I thought I'd take care of the business that we have.
Yep.
And then the contract is newer business than that. So does on the May invoice for $15,000, did we already approve that, or I thought we would have,
No, that was continued from the last meeting.
because we had no money, or
I think you had
or
said you,
we didn't have it. Yeah, it came in, there was an overlap on time basis. So did people have a chance to review that? That was, it's obviously significant, but there's clearly a lot of work that, was covered in that month. Does anyone have any comments? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the invoice for May 2024 for $15,512.50.
so moved.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second,
Okay, all in favor? Anna? Okay, Tim,
Aye,
Amy,
aye.
and I'm an aye. So we've covered that. June, one can only dream this becomes the standard, but it's a invoice for $8,988. And so my understanding, let's say, okay, so yeah, so we'll, Lori, you may have to split that invoice between, the reserve fund and our, land management fund. Is that correct?
No, I think the 25 covers the 15,500 and the 8,988. Oh, but we also have to pay April. I don't remember what April was.
Well, that's what I was wondering, 4,700, a balance of
So
4,762.
something, maybe June is gonna have to come out of that extra trail maintenance money that's coming back in.
Right. And can you
Yeah.
split that? Is that, is that, running through an accountant, ask for X amount from, one fund, or the reserve fee is going into professional services, correct?
Right, the reserve fund transfer will go right into professional services, but I will have to ask for a transfer from trail maintenance into professional services for June.
Okay,
So it's just a form that that doesn't go to warrant. I think it just gets signed
Okay.
by the
okay.
townhouse.
Let's, and so, but
So-
meanwhile, Janet, did you get paid for April in full?
No.
No, because we didn't have the money.
I see, got it. Okay. Then, yeah, if you encounter any issue, just give me a call so we can make sure that, we can move this along, quickly. Tim?
Can I ask, do you know, Lori, if we have, I assume we have cloud stuff on Zoom,
Yes.
cloud storage? Then the
Yes.
transcription's free. I just looked it up. It says, yes, Zoom provides free transcription service for all recordings stored in the cloud. So you have to subscribe.
So
to
you must just have to
education,
set it up
business, or
that way.
enterprise plan.
Yeah. Okay, well, I
Mhm.
can ask for a little help with Zoom, and see if somebody can set me up with that.
Yeah,
Um,
and even if they don't agree, if they don't think it's good enough, tell them that you'd like to see how it works for us.
because they said that you had to pay for that.
Right, so let's bring that, maybe they
Well,
overlooked.
there's, if you don't have I think it's if you don't have the cloud storage, they
Well,
charge,
my meetings go into the cloud,
right.
but it might not be the same, it might be the town's storage.
If there's an account
Yeah,
for the Concom that's paid for, that's a separate account.
it can only hold so much though, because
Right,
after a
right,
while,
that's-
they move it
yeah, yeah.
to another
Yeah, but
location.
while
Right.
it's still there, before it gets moved, you can get a
You
transcription.
can-
So you can find
Okay.
out by going into the settings, and go to, I just had it, wait a second. mm,
And interesting, so on our current screen, where are settings?
You don't have it. You have to sign in to the account.
Oh, directly into it. Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're looking at your own account.
No, I'm not. I'm looking at a Google search. The
Oh, okay,
results of
got it.
Google search. There's lots of
Mhm.
stuff. It says machine generated, they're 85% accurate in cost, around 25 cents per audio minute, with monthly plans ranging from $8 to $30. And I assume we would need the $8 plan, which is $100 a year.
I
But-
see.
But we might not need it at all, because the
Mhm.
other thing says it's free.
Okay, why don't we, if Lori, if you can look into that, and let's say, at the very least, let's see if we can get 2 months worth or 2 meetings worth of transcription somewhere. See what the accuracy is. And then Janet will go ahead and get more specific information from her contact. So did we approve did we approve the invoice for April? That looks like it's a leftover amount.
You approved the invoice, but there was no money to pay it, so it's still
Okay.
waiting to be paid. But now the transfer will allow it to be paid.
Okay, so,
So you just need to do June.
okay, so June was 89.88. And again, similar clarity as previous invoices. Anyone have any questions, comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the June invoice.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
go- Thank you. All in favor, Anna? Tim?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
And let's see, then, in terms of, Janet's contract extension, so she sent out, renewal, with, just basically, it's for FY 25. It's for the new amount for $85,000. And, let's see, and those are the only changes. And then, as I discussed before, we're hoping that's the appropriate budget, and we're all going to work together to parse out last year's costs and make sure that we can we try to have some answers there so that we can be ahead of the game in this case here. So any questions concerning that extension? Okay, then hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Or move to approve and accept the agent's contract for the next fiscal year.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Anna?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay. Great, then,
Does
let's
anybody
see.
else hear this incredible storm going on?
No, it's what I
I
know.
do outside.
It is
It's
really
amazing.
raining.
And it's
It's
dead silent
incredible.
in my house. It is dead silent. Up in
Really?
your
It,
neck. of the
it
woods.
was raining here. It's not as hard right now.
Yeah, no, it's let up a little bit, but I have
Yeah.
a metal roof on where I am, the room I'm in.
Oh, right.
It was pretty bad
You know,
earlier.
and we have
Yeah.
earlier when I was with the warrant committee, thunder, lightning, the house was
Mhm.
shaking, and other people had nothing in town.
Yeah.
So just
Very localized.
and somebody pointed out, they said there was this little orange dot over Dover on the weather map, and everything else around it was clear. So, okay, why don't we I move on to the agent's report? Oh no, excuse me, land management work group update, Anna.
Yes, the bog bridge is out. I have photos if anyone wants to see them. Does
So
anyone
is
want to see
out-
them? It's
Sure.
Does out mean in, or I'm not sure.
out means thanks to Greg and Jerry Arnold and the tractor, we have pulled it out. Let me
Oh, well,
out
the
of
old,
yeah, pulled the old one out. Let me see.
Mhm.
Can I share my
I
screen?
didn't know if you were talking
I
about the
will
new
be
one,
that person.
somebody's driveway.
Not yet. I don't have screen share, but oh, there we are. There's my button. Tractor doing its thing.
Mm-hmm.
See, the old bog bridge has sustained further damage since we took on this project.
Mm-hmm.
Ready to go. 1 steps, and then that's our temporary thing.
Mm-hmm.
The new one is currently still with Greg, but Rick and Greg have worked on how they're going to stand up the footings, which they feel they have a good sense of, and can they move it? And the answer is yes. So we are getting ready to put it in
That's a
soon.
good thing.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Where's
The
it-
quote
where's
of the
it
day.
cur-
Oh, go ahead.
Where's it currently located?
Greg's driveway. off
Which
Pine
is,
Street.
where's Pine Street? Okay.
And Rick was enthused to acquire a Sawzall and start taking apart the old bog bridge and taking it to the transfer station, and it's been working.
Mhm.
We talked about asking DPW for that, but decided I believe it was more fun to try out the Sawzall, and that worked.
And were you part of
And
that fun? or was
Diablo
that-
blades
Toys
on
and
it.
toys.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was thinking. It would seem like a boys and toys thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think thus far I'm just signed up for pushing things up the hill. So apparently I drew the short straw, but that's okay.
Oh, okay. So it's Sisyphus. Yeah.
That was the
Yep.
same thought.
Good luck there.
Exactly.
Pushing the
Doesn't always
boulder up
work
the
out, I
hill.
hear.
Where we are. But no, we're excited. And let's see, I believe Greg quoted, he was doing this in the heat wave last week, so it was easy peasy lemon heat stroke and it worked. He's also found trail supplies, and we'll put that through and send the for the 1,000 we encumbered last meeting. I think it's going to come in under, but I'm not sure if so. So we'll send that to Kathy. We got the quote from Brian Nelson at Metro West for surveying. That's the 10,000 we've been talking about. That came in at 17 to 20 for the whole space, which seemed high. And also there was a provision that it might be more than that. So I think our next move is to get some more quotes and decide what's in the middle.
Well,
But that was an interesting development.
you and I spoke briefly about this, and this is
Mhm.
something for the commission to review, is that number one, it does, to me, that seemed very high for, for a survey. But they put in their caveats, it's a very overgrown, wetland oriented, that's gonna take some time and all that. However, obviously we should, we'll have the time to put things out for, to get more people to give us quotes on this. And also whether we need to fully either bound or even survey, for example, the two parcels, the Haven Street parcel and then the Haven and Main Street parcel, we may not need to survey the line down the middle of those two properties.
Why,
You know,
why would you?
well,
We
but
own
that
them both.
was part of their quote. Or one of the other things is we don't really need to do something along the street, but it might be helpful to do something behind that French provincial or the French Normandy style house to, get that located.
Yeah.
And maybe just, just do the things that are critical. And I would think, I know we had an issue a number of years back when Pat Corrigan was filling his backyard in on Wild Woods, and people were sending us pictures there, whether that maybe getting some and they were talking about iron rods, not bounds, which were very good. But maybe a combination of those in key areas in Wild Woods. So so being a little bit more discerning about what we get surveyed and how it can best solve issues that we have. So does that seem like a plan?
Yeah,
So-
that sounds good.
Okay. Okay.
Couple other things. Yeah.
Mhm.
Our next move is also working on the strategic RFP again. I think we would like to get more input, so I'm maybe hoping to see, Amy, if I can talk to you or you can come to one of our meetings because of the open space plan, or someone in addition to Rick and Greg. So that we also want to do that. We're starting to work on what, if anything, we want to do for Dover Days, recommended trails or activities. So that we're talking about that at our next meeting, which is mid-July. And then there was a question if the trails email is working. It may not be. If it is, I'm going to ask Chris to publicize it. And then we talked last meeting about using additional Bogbridge excess funds on trail supplies. So I had a note to come back and see if anyone wanted to vote on it, but I'm also completely happy to let it go since we have enough fees in motion at the moment. So that's the last
Well,
thing.
is there anything you can do in the next week with those?
We can buy other hikers going in various directions and
Yeah,
save
no,
those for tagging trees.
yeah. And you've already done a lot of research on the
Mhm.
signs and so forth. So do you have a budget in mind for that?
We had 2,000 left over, but I don't want to use all that, so 750 less. I don't care a ton.
Well, how about go for 1,000? And then
Sounds good.
to cover things. Okay. This would be for additional signage and other miscellaneous trail
Yep.
aids. Okay, I'll entertain a motion or so move for $1,000.
So moved.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second,
Okay, all in favor. Anna,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Amy,
I,
and I'm an aye. Okay. And did you end up with, do you have leftover lumber as well?
We do, and I think we assigned Rick to ask DPW if we could store it at the transfer station. Let me figure
At
that
the
out.
transfer station. Okay. I
I
don't,
think
yeah,
it's
'cause
gonna
I-
get
yeah,
thrown
Yeah, I don't know if they've, no, you know what's gonna happen is one of the guys who's there 8 hours a day in a pickup truck is gonna take it home. But, and sell it on, Facebook or something. But I don't know if the highway department, what is it,
They apparently
14
store excess materials there, so that was the
Oh, they
thinking.
did, they have some dumpsters, not, yeah, some, storage containers. Interesting. Okay. And anything else
Let's
for,
see. I think we are done. We're done. So we had a exciting
Great.
month so far.
no, looking forward. So you think within the next month, the bridge will be in, or what's your goal there?
I think
Weather.
so. It's depending a little on vacations, and I honestly think the heat, but I think we'll be good. We'll have something in the next month, but I'll update
Okay.
next time.
And
Okay.
Open Space is gonna do our booth at Dover Days, so you or the Concom can think about anything that you want
Mhm.
at that.
Sounds good.
I have been hearing rumors. So is there any group that is starting to look anew at the rail trail possibility,
Park
or
and
is that
Rec.
just Park and Rec? Is
Mhm.
so actually Park and Rec. Okay, good, good.
Someone got a grant for it. We learned about it today at the housing committee.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
someone got a grant to research it. I didn't catch the details. Janet, do you know?
Oh, you're muted. Janet, you're muted.
It was over $100,000 to complete the design and permitting for the rail trail.
Wow.
Oh, that was a big detail I
Jeez.
missed.
God, I mean, if we'd
Oh.
actually done this 15 years ago, that would have paid for the whole thing.
Absolutely. Especially since we
Uh,
were selling the steel, the rails.
Well, and I think they went out of business, unfortunately.
I know.
Well, if we get Trump back in office, then the steel prices will go through the roof because he'll put all kinds of
Oh, tariffs.
tariffs on.
I
so
don't think those tariffs were removed. So but
the
we'll see.
steel tariffs, I'm pretty sure were removed, but I don't know.
So, let's
They
see.
were, he wants to like double all the tariffs. He's gonna put more tariffs on.
Wants to get rid of all taxes and have only tariffs.
Oh,
Right.
there we go. Right. Yeah.
How
So
nice
That's
and
fun. That's
progressive
fun.
taxation.
One of the economic think tanks said that would, over the next 10 years, that would cost $25 trillion added to the debt.
yeah. Yeah. And
25
no, that
trillion.
people wouldn't be able to afford to buy anything. So
Right.
Yeah, great way to
anyway,
drive down consumerism.
right.
is.
Well, yeah, there we
Yes,
go.
there
Yeah.
we
So
go.
actually, so who knew he was so green underneath it all? So
I thought it was orange.
Okay, why don't we move on to Janet's agent reports, updates?
Okay, so we have a couple enforcement order issues to discuss quickly. The first was, I think you all saw the email that Lori forwarded this afternoon from the owner at 15 Grand Hill Drive. You'll remember there were some tree removals and the trees were moved into the wetland. We issued an enforcement order just to have the owner have the delineation professionally done. And then her email to us was asking for some flexibility, but I think something got lost in translation. I have spoken to the homeowner a couple times. English is not her first language. And she got a quote from Goddard to do the delineation for 4,000, which seems exceptionally high. But she said that was the lowest quote, but I think it's outrageously high.
She may not be conveying what a standard delineation is to
Right.
these contracts.
And then so she
Can we
was
help her out there?
What's
Oh,
that?
sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted. Can we help her out there? Maybe give her
So
more information that's a better clarity
Yeah,
for her contractor?
one of the things maybe to Janet, did you actually have a chance to walk out, through the backyard and see the logs in place?
Yes.
Okay. And is it like 3 or 4 trees that were done,
At least 3 or 4 large trees. You could say you know, what if 3 or 4 large trees had fallen naturally? We
Mhm.
wouldn't really do anything. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know. I do sympathize with the owner and this situation. So I
Mhm.
just don't know what the commission thinks, how we should proceed on this.
I would be willing to meet you out there to take a look at it, to, knowing what, what equipment might be, could get in there, or if necessary. And see, because that does seem very onerous for something that we still don't comprehend what actually happened, because we didn't use our phone app. But I think she had made it very clear how tight money was in the first place, and I don't want to uh, not be, not take that into consideration.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll be in touch to schedule a site visit, and then I'll let the whole commission know if anyone else can join us out there.
Okay.
Because there
Great.
might be some kind of a compromise here.
Mhm. Mhm. Yep.
Depending on my schedule, I can probably just join you all, but it'll
Mhm.
depend on everything.
Mhm. Is that walking distance from you, or?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Just
Yeah.
like if I already have a conflict, but I don't know that I
Yeah.
would.
Okay. Okay.
Next is 31 Springdale. That was originally an RDA to do some minor driveway work and putting in a stone wall. It turns out that he actually had filled in an intermittent stream in the back. We
Well,
issued
he put a culvert in, right?
over it in, well, a drainage pipe. I guess you could.
Mhm. Oh, was it? I mean, is it like a little 4-inch thing, or is it a 12-inch?
I think it was about a 6-inch,
Okay. Okay.
but he definitely filled in the stream.
Mm-hmm.
And we required a restoration plan. And that was due May 15th. And so my suggestion was that we send just a friendly letter, a reminder that the restoration plan is overdue, and that he respond and let us know when he will be submitting that plan, or we could give him a new deadline. That might be the better approach.
And when do you recommend that deadline? 30 days, or?
Yeah, I'd say 30 days.
Okay. Then, yeah, I don't think we need we've already issued a notification
He's
before.
building the wall right now. I mean, he's working on that property all the time, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, we know he's doing it. He's
Here's
a
the
little
front
overwhelmed.
thing with a little,
His
he-
posts.
literally, as I drove by this afternoon, they were working on the wall, so.
No, a
So-
lot of the wall seems to be it looks like it's almost done. And that's going to be a little bit more involved.
You
Go
gave
ahead.
him permission to finish the wall.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just like him saying that he doesn't have time to do something is a load of crap, because he's got time to work on it.
Well, it appears like he has been
He-
pretty consistently, but he doesn't have an entire crew. He has,
But he doesn't have time to give us a plan?
Oh, well, no, I think that may involve cost and timing.
No, it doesn't. I
Did we
mean,
get a plan did we get anything from him? Did he work with an engineer or anyone?
I think his RDA was a sketch.
Mhm.
But he was working with Goddard on a restoration plan. Goddard came out and did an initial review.
Okay. Mhm.
And told us there wasn't a vernal pool there again, right?
Yeah. We should
So-
I like the letter idea, and
Yeah, no, I
maybe
think
a
a
little bit
letter-
strict letter, but 30
Yeah,
days.
and with the 30
start
days
yelling.
to get that plan in, and he's still working. He's doing the work that we told him he needed to do. He'll get more done in that time, but removing that pipe is going to be a little different, and we want to, we get the plan done.
Well, pretty soon he's not gonna be able to get any equipment back there to do it.
Because his grass is all done, or because of what?
No, because he's built the stone wall and blocked himself from getting back there.
No, he'll still be able to get a mini in there, and he has access on the left side,
I'm
so
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I
I'm
know.
just like,
I know.
you know,
So,
it's like
Wall's getting
Scalabrini.
taller and taller and taller, and the plan
Yeah.
is not getting closer, is what I'm hearing.
But no, I think that's appropriate. I don't think we need a vote. I think just go ahead and do that, Janet, please.
So that probably should come from Lori in the office.
Okay,
That's usually how.
right, have we said, is that the communication has been done that way before? And it generally is the correct way. So Lori, can you put that on your list?
I'm here. It's on my list.
Okay, excellent, thank you. 29 Saddle Ridge.
Us in Saddle Ridge, they are planning to come to our next meeting. However, Paul's on vacation and Paul's handling that. So I'm
Is he on
thinking,
is he on vacation during our next meeting?
yes,
Okay. Just to fill the board in, so I went out, I've been communicating with Paul, and after I sent him, I actually went out there January after we had a small snowstorm, but a reasonably significant rainstorm. And with a tape measure and measured the where the water was relative to those stakes that had been put in place, and then compared that to a plan that Cheney had done. And then Paul and I sent that to Paul and also sent those pictures to Zoe from Goddard. And it looks very convincing that it meets the threshold for ILSF. I had a lovely picture of a tape measure from the benchmark, so you could see it right there on the plan to the edge of water, and it seemed like the water was beyond that. And there was additional water in areas that were contiguous to it. And if I recall, Vardran was upset because of that was an unusual storm, but it turns out, according to NOAA, it wasn't. It was a one-year storm. So all this seems to work together. And the fact that Zoe got this, then she asked for an extension. So I'm hoping that they're going to accept it as it is, as an ILSF, and we can move forward on a restoration there. So, and so if Paul's on vacation, then it's, so he's on vacation during that hearing. Is that what you're saying, Janet?
yes, he's on vacation on the 10th, our next
It
meeting.
may have to be continued because, we certainly want to maintain his involvement.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
The next is 14 Hamlin's Crossing. Many of you attended a site meeting out there. The draft restoration plan was originally submitted back in February 21st. And then we did a site meeting that was over 5 weeks ago. And so the deadline has passed substantially for submittal of the revised restoration plan. I know Joyce is very busy, but again, I think a friendly reminder letter that we are expecting this. And again, maybe give them a deadline, 30 days seems reasonable.
Okay. If you could take care of that, Lori, please.
Is that to the owner or to Joyce?
Why not both?
I think that's a good idea.
Mhm.
Okay, and the last under this category is rescheduling our site visit to the Claybrook Road Bank Stabilization Project. The direct abutter across the street from this area still is voicing concerns. And I think it would be in the commission's best interest to go out, meet with Kevin McCabe and the wetland consultant and also the homeowner, just so we can at least listen to her concerns, have the consultant provide feedback, and we will have at least, made a real effort to see what her concerns are. So I'm wondering if we can just look at our calendars now. Next week is a holiday week. I think that would be tough, but the week of the 8th, my schedule's pretty open.
Would it work? The it seems Kevin and the wetland consultant may be the determining factor on that. Can we get some feedback on them?
Yes,
And leave
that's
that,
what
and leave that week open if people, you know, at
Okay.
least for the time being, if, are there any days that people can't do that week?
Um,
Currently,
Which week? I'm trying to find my,
week of the-
Yeah.
what, at roughly what time?
be the week of July the 8th. I think
Right.
part of that is dependent upon what Kevin or the consultant has, but maybe we can give them some guidance.
Yeah,
Um,
Tuesday morning and Wednesday afternoon, I'm not available, but otherwise I am.
Okay, so let's
I'm in California through the 9th.
to the 9th. Okay, so we're looking at Wednesday
I can click on them.
on. And let's see what they come up with.
Amy, you had time Tuesday and Wednesday that weren't good, is that right?
So the Wednesday,
Tuesday morning and Wednesday afternoon.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll try to get a couple dates from them and then we'll
Thank
go.
okay, great.
Let's see, just a quick update on the tree preservation committee. We're working with Kevin McCabe on the regulations for the stormwater bylaw. The goal is to have that, once it's approved by the AG, which should be soon, to have those regulations in effect by the end of September. So we can start enforcing that. But the committee, in talking with the planning board, there still is the intent to go forward with a separate tree preservation bylaw for next town meeting. So the full committee will be coming, once we have a draft and some questions, they're going to be coming to the Concom, planning board, and I think maybe open space to get feedback on that.
So on the
What
stormwater
is-
one, who enforces the tree component of the stormwater?
That is DPW.
Okay. Anna?
What would the tree preservation bylaw include that isn't in the stormwater? Because it seemed pretty focused on, you know, maintaining shade and having a restoration approach, and it's pretty good to me. But I'd love to see more.
The stormwater only protected the perimeter trees, I believe.
Oh, okay.
it
The
was-
setbacks.
Yeah, it was a 20-foot setback around the lot, so
Was
That
it,
may-
was it was
It's
defined
the
as
planning,
20.
it's the equivalent to the planning board setbacks.
That's what I thought. So
So it
those would be
depends on the different.
right, but they're none of them
20
except
for-
20 would only
But
be
you
in
can still
Hudson.
take out the big center. Okay.
Yeah, but generally it'd be 40 or 30. So if it's 20, then that's something
I
stands.
don't know what the planning board setbacks are.
They vary from generally 30 for sides and 40 to 60 depending on the zoning for the front.
so that'll be, the devil's in the details, working out something that can pass at town meeting, that doesn't
Mhm.
scare people, but really has some teeth in it, so.
Mhm.
The next issue is, you may recall the selectmen circulate their goals and objectives for each fiscal year, usually in the fall. Last fall, the Concom, the Planning Board, Board of Health, and the Building Inspector all submitted comments that instituting online permitting, automated permitting, and tracking would be a huge benefit to the town, both for our ability to be efficient and effective, but also residents could go online and learn more about a project. They could look at site plans without having to call Lori and schedule a meeting. So we had talked, a number of us had talked to Michael Blanchard. He said this is going to be a priority for this fiscal year. Because of some budget constraints, I guess, they didn't ask for money for this fiscal year. But hopefully for this coming fiscal year, it will be a priority, because we're talking about maybe 35,000 to purchase the software and do training. And it would be a huge benefit, I think, for everyone. And most towns around us have online permitting. So I'm hoping we'll hear more about that. Algonquin Gas Line, Jim had sent me some photos. He was a little concerned about some of the work being done. I have been out there and have walked the property with the project manager. It's messy. There's no question about that, but their erosion control was secure. I saw no alteration of wetlands, so I'll keep monitoring that.
And where was that location?
Off of Claybrook.
Okay, because I saw it looked like some timbers on Springdale. And I don't know if that's part of their proposed.
No,
You know,
no.
so interesting, just beyond Channing Pond. My first thought was that they were going to be doing something there, and I thought if we could just get them to reach over and take a little tug at the beaver dam, we'd be all set. But
That was right near the
Uh,
pond, John?
I
Yeah,
didn't
it
know
was just-
the pipeline went back there.
there, yeah, I think it goes through there. Maybe it doesn't. I thought but I thought I saw some large timbers, and I thought somebody was staging something just beyond Channing Pond on the right.
Yeah, I'll ask them about that and I'll take a look. I go by there all the time. And then the last is I had sent out a draft article for the July newsletter, which was about the Charles River Watershed Project to remove invasives in Red Wing Bay. I don't know if people had any comments, or that was pretty straightforward, so.
I can just recommend anybody who hasn't been to Red Wing Bay, go down and take a walk around. It's very nice. And soon
And that's it.
it may be part of our rail trail. So okay, does anyone else have anything else they would like to bring up? Lori?
Oh,
I sent out an email about a request from Eversource to continue the review down at the Chestnut Street Bridge at the Dover Needham Town Line. They want to continue monitoring, and it just expired 6/24. So I got an email just a day or so before that, I think, asking if they could have an extension on the emergency certification.
Okay.
So I did send that to everybody. I think they want another 60 days, and I think it's just for monitoring.
Yeah. So something we should have a vote and entertain a motion. If anyone would like to do that.
Sorry.
Pam?
Move to accept the July 10th, is that what we're talking about? Yeah.
extension,
The request
Extension.
for extension, yeah.
second,
Great, all in favor, Anna,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Amy,
aye.
and myself am an I. So
Thank you.
it looks like we've hit like the mythical 9:30 meeting. This is very cool.
It happened.
So I thank you very much, everyone. Thanks, Tim, for coming in. And hearing no objections, the meeting is adjourned. So everyone can go off and fill in the rest of their evening.
Happy 4th, everybody.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Well, okay. Night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Our end of year, right?
Technically, yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of these
Happy
days.
New Year,
Happy New
everyone.
Year.
And next time we see each other, we'll have a budget all flush. So- okay, bye.
Bye.